Hi, everybody. My name is Jill Jonathan, and I am with Red Wine and Blue. So, a little bit about Red Wine and Blue. We are a community of women who use digital media and friend to friend organizing to change the world, one suburb at a time. So, one way that we are doing that is through conversation. We love to have conversations with people and talk about what's going on. So, today I will be talking with Heather Gardner. I'm getting her to join here, and Joe Carducci, as in JoJo from Jers. And we are going to talk about bringing the funny to politics because I think we all need some more laughs, don't you? So I'm so excited about this on a Friday afternoon. Hey, Joe, how are you
Hi.
doing? Heather,
Hi.
yay! Okay, yay.
Hi. Oh, you ladies look so lovely, and I'm just starting my coffee. What do you say? We're bringing the funny to politics? How about we're just bringing the funny to real life? This is just real.
Everywhere.
Exactly.
Oh my
Like,
gosh, we just need it. And Heather, you are doing stand up. I just have to start with that because I'm so excited for you. And I just think that's incredibly fun. I always just like to just go there,
yeah.
just start with it. So just tell us a little bit about that. Heather is doing stand up comedy. It's awesome.
So cool. It's funny to me, funny, haha, funny, and ironic to me that I'm doing this because it does feel like the next like iteration of the content that I've been putting out for the last like 3 years. It does feel like that, but the way that it happened is more of a patriarchy kind of story and a not so funny story. So, I've been doing this content. If you guys follow me on social media at Heather GTV. I've been doing this content since the 2020 election. And, I kind of fell into that too when the pandemic happened. We've talked about this before. But since then, we've built this huge following. I've been trying to make a late night show. I've been trying to do all these things. And it's been going like, okay, like we've been having some good meetings, right? Well, the feedback came back and a lot of these really big studios were like, you know what? Politics and especially like comedians is really hard for women. And this is just a really, hard avenue. So it's going to be a pass for us. Maybe when Jon Stewart is attached to it, then you can, right? Exactly. Your face was my face. And I sat down, I was like, obviously like really disheartened by that. But I sat there for only about 20 minutes and I was like, I'm just gonna show them that I can. Like literally 20 minutes later, I was like, I signed up for a stand-up class. I was like, fine, if they don't think I can do this, I'm going to prove to them and myself that I can do this. And so now, like 3 months later, I've got shows that I'm doing, and I don't understand. I don't really understand how I got here, but we're here and it's fun and it's different. And it's a different way to connect with an audience who may or may not actually be plugged into the news. Because, my audience now, obviously they are in it, right? But you go to comedy clubs and maybe they don't know about all these things. So it's a whole different avenue and it's been really fun and exciting.
And I just think it's like I am in awe because I've met you. I know who you are. I know you're tough as nails and you are brave and bold and you don't give any you know what. But it's a different kind of bravery. Like I I think like I could sooner get on a stage and maybe give a speech, maybe from a script, but like to stand up there and have people laugh at your jokes that you mean for them to laugh at, like that's a whole nother level of bravery that I cannot personally fathom. So like major props to you for that.
Well,
Bravo.
thank you. It is like I've only done now. I've been working on this, behind the scenes for several weeks and months at this point. But I did one show, and I literally was on the stage, and I was like, "What? They're laughing? What is happening?" And I was really glad though, because like I also there's something different that I've never done. With stand up versus like our regular content is I don't talk about my personal life very often. We do in like settings like this. I've talked about my family. I've talked about my upbringing, but these are nothing with regularity. And I certainly don't like have my daily 1 minute videos talking about my husband or just like random things that happen in my day. But that is such a huge part of stand-up. It's like an audience, or it's a connection with the audience in that way. But being who I am and being what I love to talk about, of course I was going to add some politics in there. And again, like even in the class, like a lot of my classmates and the teacher, they were like, you know, maybe not do that. And I'm like, but this is just me. This is just who I am. So I got it there, and I had this whole, like, these are the ones that are posted on my pages if you've seen them. But we talked about pride, and we talked about conservatives, and we talked about all this stuff. And I was really, really scared because I wasn't expecting a lot of laughter. I was like, but this is for me. This is what I want to do. And then they laughed, and I was like, all alone, just shocked. I was like, oh, see, I can do this. Suck it, studios.
I love that.
I'm just like, it's so needed. I feel like when you hear things like that, like, oh, like this has never been done before. Oh, you might want to think about changing yourself or whatever. And you're like, no, this is who I am. And it's so needed. You're so right. Like you're going to be reaching a different audience that might be in comedy and humor is a little like it's a little easier to digest sometimes than like the seriousness of it. And so that's why like I wanted to have this conversation with both of you because Joe uses a lot of humor as well. I mean, life is serious for sure, but gosh, you gotta laugh sometimes, you know, or we're just not gonna make it.
You either laugh or you cry, right? I'm sure you've been there, Joe.
Oh yeah. Like I always think of it this way, it's like a spoonful of sugar, right? So I feel like with all of the heaviness that's out there, I feel like a little bit of humor mixed in makes everything a little bit more palatable and makes us able to sustain going. And for those of us who are engaged and do get in the weeds of what's happening, if you don't find moments Marjorie Taylor Greene into a mean girl cat fight on the floor of the House of Representatives and called the chick with the gun holster on her thigh a little you know what. And if while it's an embarrassment, and it is, and it's ridiculous, if you can't laugh at that, like, what are we doing? Because, I mean, they are giving us lots of material, but, I mean, and it's the thing, it's like everything has a layer of seriousness to it, and you can also find the joke so that you don't want to jump off a cliff.
Right. I mean, even this week, I just posted one. The whole reason why I'm not like hair and makeup ready, because I was up till 1 a.m. last night doing like editing this video about I don't want to say the word because I don't want to get us banned from TikTok. Everybody's always watching. Yeah. But the stuff in the White House, the substance in the White House, yeah. Which of course is like, I'm such a fan of this administration, but also like, there's some cracks in the system, and it's just like, of course we want to laugh at this. It is funny. It is serious. It is, huh?
Crack in the system.
I didn't even mean for that to happen.
Sorry, I had to.
You got to write that down for your next show.
Right, exactly. My brain has been on that train for all. I did it again.
You killed me because you said they do love their party lines, and I was dying. So smart. Like, that's so smart. Come on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have to have credit. I give credit where credit is due, though, because I'm so, I don't know, lucky. I don't know if luck is the right word. Blessed, happy. It just kind of is what it is. But my husband does this with me. And he is not only just like my biggest cheerleader, like we have created this entire like platform together. And he has come up with quite a few of those lines too. I can't remember now who came up with the party lines joke, but it was really funny.
So funny. It's so funny. And sometimes people take some of this stuff very seriously when they shouldn't. And it's like, get a grip. Let's get some perspective.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's like what I wrote about that one was the craziest part about that story is that the last guy who was in the White House is being indicted for stealing documents from the White House, and he tried to steal the White House. And steal the White House again. It's like, but let's focus on this story that like it does. It's not great. It's not a good look for anyone.
No, it's not a good look, but
right. And if you said you're like the most secure building in the world, and not only did they get it in, They forgot it there.
I did have a line that didn't make it in there, but I was like, I was thinking like, oh, John Jr.'s like, that's where I left.
That's where I left it. You have to do
Yeah,
this.
right, exactly.
That's where I left it.
You know, it's so funny. If this was happening under the Trump administration, he would be up in some rally being like, "This was a plant. Hunter Biden snuck in and planted the coke to make me look bad."
Fake blows.
Fake blow. We can go all day, but you see, but like it's just like, yes, this is a ridiculous situation.
Mm-hmm.
But to what you were saying too, about how, you know, there's a lot of seriousness, and sometimes like when we laugh, it hits harder. Like before I ever got into this, I've never been a news junkie. I've never just sat down and watched the news like before 2020. That was changed my life in so many ways. But I never was that person, but I was that person to watch John Oliver or The Daily Show or, you know, whatever. And I learned for years before I even like had an inkling that I wanted to do this. I learned a lot about our world by laughing at our world. And I learned a lot of things, and it truly changed my perspective on life and this country. And I, you know, decided in 2020 that I wanted to be a part of that too, but be a part of like talking about that. But it just hits different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember years ago, my sister and brother-in-law, they were like, well, we get our news from The Daily Show. And I was like, what? That's not like a real news show. And then I'm like, oh, like they were like, well, that's how we can digest it. And we're actually learning stuff from that.
There was a study, I need to find the exact study, but I remember hearing this stat in like high school or something, saying that people who watch like The Daily Show, this is back when Jon Stewart was hosting it, people who watch The Daily Show have a better grasp and understanding of the news than people who watch the news. But I think just because it sticks with you more. Mm-hmm. Like you remember jokes and you remember funny things more than you remember, you know, the disastrous things. Your brain doesn't want to hold on to that kind of stuff, right, but it wants to hold on to funny jokes. Yeah.
And a joke condenses the information in such a digestible way, again, to that thing where it's easier to remember. And increasingly now, and I've seen statistics on this too, Americans really aren't getting their news from conventional news sources anymore. Like on the other side of the aisle, we've got people getting their news from a guy who used to have a reality TV show where they ate spiders. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and another guy named Tim Pool, who's like literally just some crackpot, but that's who they're getting their news from. And they're going to Twitter, or they're leaving Twitter and going to Threads, or they're leaving Threads and they're going to Post, or they're going to whatever platform, but they're not really going to the news sources anymore. So I think it's an interesting time, you know, for people to interpret the news, right? And it's been the fact, but also it's an interesting time to find opportunities to engage people with humor, 100%.
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah, engage. And I saw a comment about Becky Sue, so I of course have to ask.
Becky Sue doesn't put that stuff up her nose, I'll tell you that much. She likes Coca-Cola, but that's about it.
See, like I can learn stuff from that. Like you did a Becky Sue. I was trying to think of what it was, and I don't even remember. And I watched that, and I was like, I didn't even know this happened, but I'm like cracking up, and I'm learning something at the same time. So.
Right. Probably when she bought the NFTs and she thought they were called NIFs, and she was trying to put them on her bumper sticker because she thought they were real things that you printed out. But I want to go back to something Heather said that at the top of this conversation, which is about the misogyny, which is such a big thing, and it's built both in the comedy world, in the entertainment industry, but in the political sphere, it's huge. Like I had someone tell me, someone who is connected, someone who works on Capitol Hill, tell me, look, there's a lot of misogyny out there. A man, it's just the way it is right now. Now,
as if it's a new development.
And Heather said it, like when you hear that, you're like, no. That's going to change. Like that may be the way you think it just is, just like it is, you know, Heather was told that women getting into this business, if you had Jon Stewart attached, you know, they would be interested. Like, no, we are here to tell you that that's not the way it's going to be anymore. And like, that's what we need more of. So what you're doing, again, back to the bravery thing, it's also, you're a trailblazer in a lot of ways, because you're telling other women, like, I was told no, and I'm not going to accept that as an answer.
And it's hard too, like, I mean, it's one thing like getting up on stage and performing, like, you know, you can't really see the audience either. This is something new. This is so new for me. Getting up on stage, grabbing a microphone, having lights in your face and streamers out in front of you, but also you feel like can't see them. And of course, like no one in real life is going to walk up to you and be like, "You are an unfunny female." Oh, but they write that on the internet. Like, you know, I almost feel like it's a much better space to do it live than it is to put it on the internet. Because let me tell you, sometimes I know this happens to you, Joe, too. You post something and it gets on the wrong side of the internet where it leaves your bubble, your friendly little bubble, and it goes somewhere else. And that happened with one of my stand-up videos, and I made a promo out of it. I'll send it to you. I'll post it later today. But all the comments, this unfunny female, another reason why women should never do comedy. Cat lady speaks again. Who let this lady on stage? Like just over and over and over. And so it's not even just built into the system, and it's built into our psyche, and it's not always a supportive place. And it's, you know, and especially when you're trying something new and something different, that can be really, really disheartening. But I don't know why it fuels me. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if this is a good trait or a bad trait, but I took all those comments and I'm like, promo time. I don't block out people's names. If you are brave enough to write it under my comment section, you are brave enough to have it reposted by me. So.
Yeah, but they're not brave enough, like you said, they're not brave enough to say it to your face. And that's the whole thing. Right. Right. So it's really just cowardice, right, at the end of the day.
And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Brene Brown and her work, but like there's one thing that she talks about is like being in the arena. And so if you are willing to be in the arena and someone has something to say to you and they're not in the arena, they're just like on the outside watching, then it doesn't matter. Like you are the one that's being brave and putting yourself out there. And we need more women in comedy. And I want to hear more women talking about politics, 100%. So I am super excited about this.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I love Chelsea Handler so much. And Chelsea was definitely a trailblazer in this way. And she has talked a lot about how when you're out there, especially women, Heather knows too, they're going to come for you. It's just inevitable because of the misogyny and so many other, I don't even know, systemic problems when it comes to the way people respond to women who put themselves out into the public. They really do feel as though these are kinds of comments and attacks that we are deserving of, which, you know, she says, like, just ignore them. It's gonna come, it's gonna happen, it is irrelevant. Like you said, they are outside the arena, so they're not gonna change your course. Can you imagine, Heather, if somebody's comment, you were like, well, you know what? I was gonna keep doing this comedy thing me, but John 7723 HM 14 American flags is a patriot, and he told me to stop. I'm gonna give up, and I'm gonna go have babies, and I'm gonna knit. I mean, come on.
No, I can't imagine that. But you know what? I think this is really, really important too about how like your inner circle and like finding, I don't say a support group, but finding people that really lift you up. And again, I have like such a wonderful partner in that I can't sing his praises enough. I'm hoping he's not listening to me right now. Just, you know, go on and on and on about him. But it is important to have like people who can lift you up and like pull you back in reality. Because yeah, I'm not going to lie and say that like those comments, I'm like, one of the first things that I've ever posted in this arena, like, of course they hurt. Of course it didn't feel very good. And I'm like, I get imposter syndrome all the time, you know? But I will say like about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I don't remember when, a while ago, I actually tried to do stand-up again. And this was like still like COVID, during COVID times, there was not any like open mics. It was very strange, weird times, but I found one open mic and I went up there and I did my little thing or whatever. And a friend asked to see it. And literally, like, it wasn't great, you know, whatever. And they're like, I thought this was supposed to be funny. And then I didn't touch it again for so long after that. Like, I was just like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to stick to my lane. I'm going to stick and do what I do. You know, when someone close to you says something like that, that hits way differently than user 3697 #Patriot. Yeah. You know, that hits so hard. It's just important to have people who will support you in your mistakes too, because not every joke lands. I'm not a comedy master, not even freaking close. And it's awkward and embarrassing sometimes to get up there and you think you have a joke that is going to be so funny and no one laughs. It doesn't feel great. But we keep doing it. Just surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up.
Yeah. That's so important. And also, every time you do it, you get a little bit, I would guess, do you feel like a little bit more kind of emboldened and confident to do it again? Like, you know what I mean? Like you've got more under your belt now. You feel like I'm getting into a rhythm here. This is becoming something I'm more comfortable doing.
Yeah. Every single time I do it, I get more comfortable doing it. And I think so I get off stage and I'm like, it always in my mind is worse than whatever it was, because I'll get off stage and be like, oh, nobody laughed. But then like you record it or whatever. And then I'll be like, oh, no, they did laugh. Okay. Yeah. That makes me feel good. Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just think about too, like so many of the videos that we've put out, this is not even an exaggeration. I counted one day last year. We put out 500 videos since the pandemic. Like there was a time when Lauren, my husband, and I were doing one video every single day back when there was nothing else going on in the world. So like we have 500 videos under our belts. Like you can probably remember one or two, maybe three of our bits, right? No one's going to remember the bad stuff. Not everything is going to land. Not everything is going to get a million hits. Not every joke is going to work. But I feel confident. Like I've done 500 videos of this. Okay, so that one didn't work. Move along, try something different, get better at it. Gosh, and especially when I look back at my old videos and think like, that was terrible. Like I was so bad at this. And that was coming from a space too, where I have been a television host now for 12 years. But this was even back 3 years ago, getting into this political satire space was completely new and completely foreign and something that I was never even allowed to do in my career. Because nobody in the industry wanted political opinions. It was too taboo until literally the world changed. And we just couldn't not talk about it anymore. But I wasn't even allowed to do any of that stuff for my career. So the first few videos I posted, I look back and I'm like, oh my, who watched this?
I did.
But now it's like second nature. So I'm just hoping to keep working at this and book more shows. Like I couldn't, it like blew my mind that I booked like a real show. Like what? Someone wants to listen to me for 6 minutes, So it's wild.
Oh, that's awesome. Because it's really, sorry, Jill, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You go and then I'll go after you.
No, oh, well, that's okay. I was just going to ask like both of you, like, what does, comedy do for you? Like, what are you getting out of it when, like Joe, you do Becky Sue and different things like that. Like, how is that filling your cup? And, Joe and I talk about self-care all the time. And so I feel like it's a little bit of self-care there too. So just curious.
Joe, you go first.
Yeah, okay. Honestly, like Becky Sue in particular, she's such a parody, right? Like that I feel like it's my way, and this is not nice necessarily, of like both sort of mocking them, but also really exposing the truth, because there is so much truth in parody, right? Sometimes so much so that people thought she was real, still do. So many of the times that I posted videos where they're like, wait, this is parody? And like that's this funny, weird combination, but it feels like cathartic for me to be able to show people, and everything is supersized. It's like, yes, no, like this is ridiculous and it's implausible, and so it's bigger than it might actually be in reality. But what you're talking about still is Marjorie Taylor Greene did get into a fake prison cell with a fake prisoner who in fact was the guy who turned on the other terrorists, and she did get on her hands and knees, basically, or on her knees, and pray with the guy in the fake jail and the fake jumpsuit. It's like, this really happened. So you make a video about that, like making fun of them, where someone believes it, and it feels cathartic for me, because I can laugh along, but I can also draw attention to what is really going on, which is beyond the pale sometimes. It really is.
Seriously. For me, again, going back to like, how my worldview was shaped by this type of content. And I mean, there ain't no hiding that I've got a big mouth. Okay. And before I was allowed to talk about this in my traditional, like 9 to 5, facing jobs where I wasn't allowed to say anything, I always wanted to say something. And I remember talking to a lot of people too, because I live in Los Angeles and I do feel like we get into a bubble, and we have our like insular bubbles here in Los Angeles, but we have our bubbles on the internet and we have our bubbles in our real life. And I just remember talking to people, back in like 2016, before I ever even thought about doing this, talking about like the way that I grew up and how I grew up and people in my life that really like believe this kind of stuff, or even just like friends and acquaintances who believe this kind of stuff. And they were like, people like this exist. And so from another perspective, it just comes from like education of like, maybe step out of your worldview for just a second. It doesn't even have to be so serious about that. Maybe you just didn't hear the news about, maybe you missed the Supreme Court stuff. I don't know how. I live in that world, but maybe you got 3 kids and you weren't paying attention. Maybe you missed it. And so you're scrolling along at the end of the day and you're like, what's this funny video about? What is happening in the world? And like, as much as I put content out, I consume that kind of content myself, and I always have. And it has changed who I am as a person. So that's what I want to do, is like, first and foremost, always educate. I don't think there's any point in, at least for myself, to just get up there and say something without like a better purpose for it. It could be a small purpose, it could be a big purpose, but like, I want to everything we put out needs to have like a point to it. And then just maybe like change someone else's perspective on that. That's super, super important to me.
I think that's why your videos in the beginning of COVID were so important. Like, I know for me that they were very helpful because we were all home, we were all consuming. It was a very dark time, as we all know. We walked through it. It was dark and scary and unfamiliar and unknown. And I think we were looking for places to feel like safe, or to have, but also to have someone sort of break up the monotony of doom and gloom all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Then this beautiful girl shows up with this purple screen and she's like, boom, boom, boom. And like, this is terrible, but like, let's, let me put it to you this way, because you don't stop doom scrolling for 1 second and watch this incredibly colorful, really engaging video that is about some really horrible things.
Yeah. I also think too, just validating feelings too. I think so much. Yeah. I get comments literally every single day. It was like, you said it better than I could. Like, I'm thinking it, someone else in the world is thinking it. And if you're scrolling and you're like, that's what you feel seen in a different way that you probably aren't going to get from cable news. Even the cable news that I like to, watch too. You're probably not going to get that. You're not going to feel that same connection, but just feeling, especially in that dark time of COVID, where it was like, wait, you're drinking 7 bottles of wine a day too? Okay, cool. I feel seen. Like, I did not drink. It was maybe close to that, but
it was that. Did you guys ever see that? It was like a cartoon, and it was the coffee cup handing the baton to the glass of wine, and it was like COVID. And all my girlfriends were like, "Yep,
exactly." But you feel a certain way when your feelings about, especially like a terrible time, are validated. You feel a certain way about that, and so if I can help contribute to that, having someone else feel seen, like, great, wonderful.
I think, that's what it is, having someone feel seen. And I feel like for me, it's part of like a coping mechanism too. Like, we have this crazy extremist school board member where my kids go to school, and she's just ridiculous. And it's like terrifying at the same time of like the influence she can have on the school district, but also so many ridiculous things come out of her mouth that my husband and I are just like we just make jokes about it constantly. It's like, I'm worried, but it's also funny, and I feel like kind of that humor and laughing about it makes me feel like it's not going to be like this forever. Like, there's no way that this ridiculousness can last, and that's what I'm hoping of, like, all these things that we're seeing right now today. I'm like, it's like, if you just like, sometimes I felt like when Trump was president, like, I just wanted to read his tweets in like my like soft, soothing voice, like just read it, and just, that was it. And just to like show the ridiculousness of what he's actually saying.
Yeah, and you know what else too? I think laughing helps you feel less alone. Mm-hmm. It's such a connective tissue for human beings to feel like, okay, not only do I feel like I'm part of a community of sane people here, right? Like, but I'm not I'm not alone, and I'm not crazy. Like,
Yeah, you're not crazy. Like, am I the only one that sees this? Like,
Yeah.
it can feel isolating.
right, exactly. And I think that's what comedy is so important to that. So because we can we can really come together over meals and over like a laugh and those jokes that we're going to share with our friends, and then they're going to share with their friends, and like that, you know, I think that's just a powerful thing, a tool that does give us hope too at the end of the day.
And comedians, you know, like I love Trevor Noah, and we saw him live a couple years ago, and I was just like, a good comedian, and I feel like Heather, you're right there, is like brilliant because like you notice the everyday things that maybe not the average person is noticing, and then you package it in a way where it's funny and it's like, huh, that's funny, but that's interesting, and it makes people think, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know. I think it's going well. I don't know. It's been fun. I will say it has been very fun because Joe, I'm sure you know, and Jill, you guys too, you put out so much content and you can get lost in it sometimes, and it can become formulaic, and it can be a slog. I've used that word before, a slog, to get it out and get out something out, you know. But this, like, in thinking about it in this way, was such a good break for me, and I really, really love it. And I actually really enjoy like talking a little more personally instead of talking to 500,000 people at a time. I kind of enjoy talking to 5. The video that I posted about there were 5 people in that room, and which is why it's kind of funny because like you could hear them laughing, but it's not like this uproarious laughter what you expect. But like there were 5 people in that room, but there's something fun about that too, just connecting with a few people rather than just, you know, a few 100,000.
Yeah, and I think what also is so crucial to you, and I've heard that people say this about me, and I know that I am who I am. Like, I don't put it, there's no pretense. What you see is what you get. Right. And I feel like you're the exact same way. I know that because I've met you. It's not, and that is a key, huge key to all of this is the genuine component to it, the authenticity component to it. Like, you are who you are, and what you're saying on that stage or on those videos or on your Instagram account or your TikTok or your Twitter or whatever, it's all an extension of Heather. And when you say people say to you, like, I was thinking that, and then you said it in such a way that it really resonated for me because that's what I was thinking, I didn't know how to say it, you said it better. That's because, and those personal stories you're telling too help people also see just more authenticity from you, that makes them trust you more, that makes them see themselves in you, and it makes them find your content worth engaging with and laughing at. I think it's crucial that you are who you are and you're absolutely genuine in that. Now you can pay me.
I feel the same way about you, Joe. And Jill, I haven't met you. Can we get like a little girls trip? I know I'm on the other side of the country, but we can make this. If I ever get invited back to the White House, I did have that thought today. I was like, when I posted that video, but you know what? It is what it is, and that is funny, and I'm gonna post it, you know, whatever. But one of these days, we're all gonna get together, and Joe, I know that about you too. I know that you are exactly who you see is who you get, and Jill, I would assume that's exactly the same for you because I've chatted with you a lot, and there's something to that. And again, I think back to your point too, Joe, about how like people are consuming media in such a different way. I couldn't tell you what Chris Hayes is like in real life. Like I couldn't gather that from his show that I can't gather that from literally any of these like stiff people on the television. I think that's why the rise of people like us, I just think it's important. I think that's why people have connected with us in a different way. Not just you and I, but like this whole thing, so many like political influencers and commentators who are solely on the internet. Who don't have that big studio backing with them, that big NBC or whatever. Who cares? Like, we're connecting in a different way. And I think it's what we've been craving, especially the younger generation has been craving this. And so it's important.
Yeah, totally agree. Craving the authenticity for sure. And then of course I have to talk about Red, White, and Blue. So I'm like, we are authentic. We have all kinds of content, resources, online trainings, all kinds of stuff if you go to our website, redwine.blue. And then Heather, where else can we find you besides TikTok?
Oh my gosh, well, I just got a thread account. Are you guys threading? Is that a thing?
Is that what it's called? I don't know.
I don't know. I was so confused. I have so many feelings about that because it's just like, no, Mark Zuckerberg owns literally everything. know how to feel about it, but then I'm just like, 5,000 followers. So yes, you can find me on all of the apps that exist or will not exist, will soon exist. I don't know, at Heather GTV.
I feel like it really is so telling. I wrote this on my Substack. It really is so telling that so many of us were like running as if it was the open bar at a wedding reception to go to the app of a guy we hate because we hate the other guy more.
He made it so easy. I'm like, what is this? Wait, everything's already here? I don't have to do a bio. I don't have to do anything. What? You're smart, Zuck. I'll give you that. You are an evil little genius. But
And you may be an alien. We're not sure.
Possibly a robot. Unsure, but I am threading now.
Yeah, I'm there too.
Anyway.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And Heather, when is your next show? Do you have your next show lined up?
My next show is here in Los Angeles. If you're in Los Angeles, it is next Wednesday, less than a week away. Reminds me I need to do some work. But it is going to be in North Hollywood. And there are ticket links in my bio here on TikTok, on Instagram, I guess Thread. And Twitter, I don't know what's happening on Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter in a while. But if you DM me, I'll give you all the info.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Good luck. Oh, I'm sorry. I know we gotta go, but I was just thinking this. Like, do you all have you seen the show on Amazon, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? Or is that what
Obsessed.
Okay, I was like, oh my gosh. You remind me of that so much. And I love that show because it is like she's a woman getting, and this was, is based in, I don't know, like the 60s,
The 50s
or something
and 60s,
like that. Yeah. So that it just kind of reminds me of that. And then it's kind of crazy, like that show's based in the 50s and 60s, and here we are in 2023, and you're getting similar pushback.
Dude, did you finish it? I don't want any spoilers.
No, I haven't yet.
Finished it? Okay, the last episode, I'm literally in my bedroom at like 1 a.m. because that's my life, sobbing. But she got the big, it's coming to it. You know she's gonna get it. She gets the moment and her speech, and she's like just talking about this life she wants to live, and I'm like, I feel seen.
It's possible. You need to believe it's possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, I think you would really like that. Yeah, it's great. So thank you everybody for joining. Heather, it's so fun to connect. I say this like when I see friends, like, let's not go so long next time. I feel like that with you too. Like, let's not make it so long next time. The three of us need to.
I promise I'll put on some makeup and look as fabulous as you ladies next time. You guys can call me beautiful, and I'm like, what are you seeing?
You're all good. You are all good.
Perfect. And break a leg next Wednesday.
Yes,
thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, Joe. We'll see you all later. Bye.
Bye.